First of all, on Syria, we've witnessed the worst bombing of Aleppo in many months. Are you not tempted to tell the Russians to their face that they are involved in war crimes and that their ambassador should go home?
Well, I think that there's no question at all that the Russians are guilty of protracting needlessly this conflict, in the sense that they continue to be the sponsors of a regime that over the last 5 years of this war is responsible for the overwhelming majority.
But you won't use the phrase
deaths.
War crimes.
I think that there are particular reasons why at this stage, because of the evidence that we have or don't have, that going down that particular route is difficult at the moment. But what is absolutely clear is that the Russians bear the moral responsibility for what is taking place, because you've got aid convoys with UN markings on them being targeted. You've got medical facilities being blown up.
But you've also got what looks like talking for the sake of talking.
And correct, that's what it looks like. And I perfectly understand the impatience and the fury of people looking at what is going on here, because they will say, they will rightly say, this is not a civil war, this is a proxy war. This is a war being conducted by puppeteers, and those puppeteers are principally in the Kremlin. They have the opportunity to bring an end to this. They could tell the Assad regime not to fly, not to bomb, to engage with the whole negotiations, get the Mistura process, the UN negotiator process back on the track in Geneva. That is an option open to them. I believe that's what the Russians should do. But if instead, I'm afraid you're seeing a cynical and barbaric protraction of violence, and it is tragic.
The UK has also been accused of complicity in war crimes in Yemen. Over £3 billion worth of British arms sold since the Saudi-led offensive began. Some MPs have written to you and said they want you to back an independent UN-sanctioned inquiry because the Saudi inquiry into what has gone on there is not good enough.
Well, what is certainly the case is that we are concerned by, as you know, there's been a recent bombing in which it looks like 19 civilians have lost their lives, some of them children. Of course, we're deeply concerned by that, and you're right, frankly, to draw attention to the arms.
So why not put yourself behind an inquiry under UN auspices?
Because what we are doing is using a very, very wide variety of information sources about what is happening to acquaint ourselves with the details.
But you're getting most of your information from the Saudis. And here we are at the UN, and you're not prepared to say there should be an inquiry under UN auspices.
Well, I don't happen to think that is the way forward. We don't, at the current, as things stand at the moment, I'm not going to hide my concern about this, because I am concerned about it. But as things stand at the moment, we don't think there are breaches of international humanitarian law. And I think it's a great mistake to try and, as I think you may be doing, to try and draw some equivalence between what is happening in Yemen with what is happening in Syria. The two things are really very different.
I wanted to ask you about your transition to being Britain's top diplomat. Were you in the room when the Prime Minister met President Erdogan of Turkey this week?
I was having other engagements, but I gather it was a very good meeting.
It was rather lucky that you weren't there, I would have thought, given that you wrote that scandalous poem about him. I mean, well, I just wondered whether you feel you're walking on eggshells when you're dealing with countries like Turkey, which are very important.
Let me tell you an interesting thing about all that sort of stuff. What's so fascinating, I mean, two points. Nobody in the course of the last few days, certainly the last few weeks, has raised anything except how they want Britain to engage with them and with helping them to solve their problems. I think what people don't
So you've got
understand,
no nervousness about going to Ankara, given what you've said?
I have family in Ankara. What people don't understand is that Britain, I think people in our country really don't understand how much people around the world in the UN want us to engage with them.
So they want
with
you
their
to
problems.
succeed, is what they want to forget your past as sort of saying whatever you want.
I think they want Britain to be. They want Britain to be there. They want a global Britain that is actively engaged with the world, and they're seeing it.
I see your fellow Foreign Minister, Alan Duncan, has been quoted as saying, in fact he did say, he thought you never actually believed in Brexit and that you were just positioning yourself, hoping that the referendum would fail, so that you might become Prime Minister.
I think what's fascinating about being here is that, the second point, is how few people actually want to discuss Brexit. They want to discuss what Britain is doing around the world. But on Brexit, there is no doubt at all in my mind, and what I campaign for and what I believe in, is an opportunity to get out from under the I think the unnecessary burdens of
so
the
no
European
fisticuffs
Union
with Alan
treaties.
Duncan back in the Foreign Office.
Get out from under the burdens of the European Union treaties and do a global free trade deal.
Foreign Secretary, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you.